Hello, this is Zeb. It should come to no surprise that I believe that the FBI is a criminal institution. It has been a criminal institution for decades. No one has been able to rein it in, and the DOJ has been allowing them to get away with crimes that they have committed over and over again. But I think many of us know this. But yet, the same FBI feels that it has the right to tell us what is misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation when they have been the some of the biggest purveyors of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. The FBI is a very terrible institution that has been able to get away with committing crimes for decades. Some of these crimes consist of, but is not limited to, is spying on Catholic Church members during the 2020 lockdown period. Say what you want about their beliefs or not, say what you want about conservatives or not, but the FBI was spying on them without them knowing about it. The FBI has also partaken in domestic terrorism. I myself was part of the protest from the summer of 2020, and I and others were able to help expose how the FBI and other agencies like them created violence during that summer. But during that same time, they were trying to get me to kill the Attorney General of Colorado. They were setting up the Gretchen Whitmer hoax as well. Come on, buddy. That's right. The FBI created an assassination plot on Phil Weiser, the Colorado Attorney General, a kidnapping plot on the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, and also a linkage within those two to a supposed plot on the life of Ralph Northam, the former governor of Virginia. But none of those people have been held accountable. The agents and the informants who created that fiasco, who created these violent actions, none of them got in trouble. The informants didn't get in trouble. Nobody did. And the DOJ did not hold any of them accountable. And there are still people in prison over this. They tried to make me into a terrorist, but I was like, fuck that shit. It's not going to happen with me. I'm not that kind of guy. But that's not it. The FBI has done some other things. They have spied on our children. Agree with the views of gun reform or not, the FBI should not be spying on our children, sending informants down to their marches. That's kind of pettish, in my opinion. The FBI has also targeted teenage boys, which I will get into a story on that later, targeting them when they're as early as 14, 15 years old, and then waiting until after they are 18 years old to pick them up and have the DOJ at that point charging them with being a terrorist. That's right, prosecutors and judges allowed the FBI to entrap teenage boys and waited until they were actually 18 years old to arrest them and pursue charges against them. That's kind of pettish. And both the prosecutors and the FBI allowed that to happen. It's pretty fucking sick, in my opinion. But that's not it. There's more. We've now found out J6 had quite a few informants there. I could be wrong with my numbers, but I believe there were 26 from what has been reported. And based off of the history of informants, we realize that they've caused a lot of violence on both sides, left, right, people in the center, unaffiliated, and everything. It appears to me that the FBI is hell bent on causing chaos on American citizens. Christopher Wray has been a shit show. Everyone there has been a shit show for decades. Let's not forget, these are the people who were involved with this Ruby Ridge thing that to my understanding, I didn't know much about. They were involved with killing Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, destroying the Black Panthers. They have worked with or created terrorist groups online. They're bad people. The FBI is an institution that is part of our surveillance apparatus, our surveillance state, and it's supposed to dictate what is truth. They want to dictate what is misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, while they have worked cohesively with the media to censor us and give misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. The FBI is a criminal institution that should no longer exist. I believe in the abolishment of the FBI. I do not believe Trump, Biden, or anyone could save the FBI or reform it from the shit that it is. I've said this before in the past about other things, but let's say you have a pile of shit. You can mold it into a dinosaur. You can mold it into a cat. You can also mold it into a cool building, but it's still a piece of shit. And that's what the FBI is as an institution. For too long, they've been allowed to get away with things. It's wrong. What do your votes matter? How can you say your votes matter when the FBI and other institutions like them can create plots on elected officials? And when those plots are exposed, nothing happens. No one gets in trouble. The head of the DC office was actually, I believe, the head of the Michigan office when the Gretchen Whitmer plot was taking place. How can we trust that? The FBI has worked against both sides. They've gone against pro-life and pro-abortion. They don't give a fuck about left or right. That doesn't mean anything to them. Stopping people from getting along and working with one another is something they do agree with. That's what their motto is. We must disrupt it. We can't let any cohesiveness happen, because if people come together and realize that we're one of the problems that they're dealing with, that could be bad for us. The FBI is a criminal institution. It is a terrible institution with a history of torture, murder, and upheaval. It should not exist. I'm not telling anyone to go out there and do anything stupid. I'm just voicing my opinion, because just saying this, you'll be labeled a terrorist anyway. Anything that exposes the FBI or any institutions like the DOJ, the CIA, is thought of as a terroristic action. Or you're thought of as betraying your country. Edward Snowden didn't betray his country. No. All those civil rights leaders of the past that were assassinated, they didn't betray their country. The government betrayed them, and the FBI was part of that apparatus. We know this. The majority of the country has no respect for this agency. As a matter of fact, the majority of the country has fear for this agency. Me being on federal probation unjustly, I may add, and I'm proud to fucking say that shit. I've had people within the federal government or worked loosely with them that have said the only reason they don't speak out about what I've been through or other things that they've seen is because they are afraid of the federal government. I'm not, especially the FBI. People should stop being afraid of these terrible people. It's not your job to be afraid of them. It's your job to hold them accountable. No matter what the administration is, they're not going to hold them accountable. If anything, I fear that the Trump administration might be just as bad as the Biden administration. Because if you're using the FBI, if they are actually in charge, the presidents are actually in charge, if the FBI is being used against political rivals on either side or either party, that means the FBI is going to be used under the guise of abuse each single time, every single time. The FBI should be gone. It should be abolished. It has done too much harm for us as a nation. It's harmed black people, white people, brown people, yellow people, red people, any kind of people out there. Everyone, every religion, every belief. It's hurt good people, bad people. Well, it's supposed to get the bad people or the terrible people. But terrible people don't usually go after terrible people. The FBI is a criminal institution, and it's comprised of evildoers, chomos, and pieces of shit all around. They need to be abolished. I think it's important to ask yourself this question as well. If the FBI has done all these bad things, how can we trust them with any of the Trump investigations, including the DOJ? How can we trust them with any left or right wing activist movements? You can't. They've proven that you can't trust them. They've proven it for decades. They need to be gone. Replace them with something else, even. But the FBI, those three letters, they need to be relics of our past.